Hi, this is Anna from Neuroscience and Psychotherapy, and today we will talk about social anxiety disorder and how to work effectively with it in psychotherapy. So let's first make the distinction between everyday social anxiety and social anxiety disorder. Everyone is socially anxious sometimes, right? Think of going to a party on your own or going for an interview. And then on the other hand, social anxiety disorder is an acute and paralyzing fear of most social situations and encounters. So, for example, things as mundane as walking down the street, taking public transport, or even ordering food in a restaurant can cause an unsurmountable levels of stress for people suffering from social anxiety disorder. To portray this using a metaphor of a monster, show you this graph with these different monsters, starting from a really small one, portraying the public speaking anxiety, which is really an anxiety that most of people will experience, especially if it's not something that they do very often. Then the next one, let's say going to parties. Then we have on the spectrum the shyness, which again, some people will experience more than others, but still doesn't mean that they have social anxiety disorder. Then social anxiety, as in some people are just feeling socially anxious in general, but I wouldn't still classify it as social anxiety disorder. And then we have this big fuchsia monster here that is, totally overwhelming social anxiety disorder. And now we have made this distinction. Hopefully, Mike will tell us a little bit more about the neuroscience of social anxiety disorder.
So figuring out the brain activity in people with social anxiety disorder can be a little bit tricky actually. So within the neuroscience research, there's a lot of inconsistencies with what parts of the brain are dysfunctional and why. This is mostly because researchers tend to use different ways of measuring changes or different experimental tasks or different patient demographics. As a result, a lot of what the research tells us is more about how the brain reacts to these types of experiments, but not really about what the brain is doing during resting state. That said, there are studies that pull together all the results throughout the years, and they, more often than not, show increased activity in the fear circuits and the emotional regulation areas. Areas like the amygdala, which sits a little bit off center, just in front of the hippocampus. This is important in fear and anxiety and emotional regulation. The frontal regions, like the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex just here, they're important in cognitive control of our emotional responses. The insula, which can't really be seen, it's a little bit deeper inside the brain here. And then of course the hippocampus. The hippocampus sits again a little bit off center, kind of wraps around here in a seahorse shape. This is important in our memory and in fear conditioning too.
To work with social anxiety disorder, the idea here is to break it down in simpler elements. So we have 7 elements there, and as you can see here on this graph, represented by different pieces of a puzzle. If you're interested in seeing what we propose in our toolbox, how to work with these different elements, please visit our blog for more detailed posts on neuroscienceandpsychotherapy.com. And this is all for today. Thank you for watching and wishing you all the best.